Hi, this is Phil from Advanced Technical Services, and we're just going to do another short video. This one will be probably a little bit longer. Actually, we're going to go a bit more deeper into detail and a few other things. So we've actually now going to create some reports that we would use for part of our validation report. We've got a vacuum test and a helix test here to use as a sample. We'll set the scale, we'll go through some naming conventions, we'll print the graphs and zooming in and go from there. So let's get started. So we've got the loggers, they've just been through an autoclave. So first thing we're going to do is select them all. So hold the shift key down, select the top one and the bottom one, and what we want to do is come up to the device tab and select stop. Cool, once they're all stopped, we can now come over to the download button and download the data. And it's automatically populated it onto a graph. So the first thing I want to do is save the file. So come up to File, Save to, File. We're going into our training document, so we'll just call this 02. But you have your own naming convention that you would use. Okay, so we've got all of the data has come in. So the first thing I would typically do is just set the colors on the graphs. So over here you'll see we've got the display is on serial number. So we want to come up to channel grouping and set that to device ID. And now that has changed it to the actual ID on the graph. Cool. Okay, so up here I'm just going to rename this and we use client name, painful dental, and we'll give it the serial number of the unit, 1234, the cycle, 134 universal, and the cycle number is say 1234 as well. You know. So whatever you use for your naming convention, but be consistent is my advice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, so if we come over here, you'll see I've selected this graph because it's the easiest one to select, and that up here shows us is the back. We always use black for our back probe, but you could use whatever color you want, but just be consistent is my advice. The middle we always use is blue, so we'll select the blue here, and the other one we can leave as red, which is by the probe. Okay, the pressures come in at green automatically because that's what we've got set in our preferences. Okay, so the first thing we're going to work on is the vacuum part of that we need for our report. So let's just come up to the horizontal zoom here, and we'll just select the bit that we're interested in. So right now, you'll see with this vertical scale, and see I'm still in the zoom mode, so if I come back to select, it's a bit easier. I can then click on points and read off the values that we've got. Okay, so a lot of autoclaves will present their information in gauge pressure as opposed to absolute. So over here, I have an engineering unit set, so I can pick up bar gauge, and now that's automatically resized it back to everything, so I can come back up to my horizontal zoom. Oh, so I made a mistake. So flip to view takes you back, click and drag, and we have a vacuum part of the thing. Okay, so here's 0 and minus 0.9. Okay, but you'll see here we're not using all this real estate. So what I want to do is shift the temperatures so they're not confusing and getting in the way down here. So in order to do that, what we need to do is come up to set scale, and with the temperature I'm going to go 0 to 30. For the pressure, I'm going to go -1 because we can't go any lower than -1, and to, in all honesty, +2. We probably actually go to 1 actually. Okay, So now you'll see up here the temperatures are now clear of the pressure, and we've got a pressure graph, and it's quite good what we're doing. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is set our time slice so that we can get some information. So I'm going back to the select tool, and I'm going to turn the time slice on, and some points that I'm interested here is 11:35 to 11:53. So if we go time slice enable, so we said at this point here was 11:35, and we were after 10:55 down here. So let's change that to 10, and that will 11, sorry, my mistake, and that will be AM. Cool, and click that again, and we should now have, let's just move that. I've done a mistake, so that's fantastic. $11:53. Cool. Okay, so the time slice is now in here. So what I can do is just get this so that we have the two arrows. We want to move that till we're just on the start point there. And I often will just box zoom, so this is where we've got to make sure that we select from outside over. And now I can just move that to align up. Now that I've done this movement, our scale has changed. So you could actually lock the scale in, which can be a pain at times. So just remember the fit to view, and then the zooms will help you. Okay, we come back to our time slice. So 11:52:24, and I know on this particular machine the vacuum test is 10 minutes. 11:42, and so if I zoom out, and you can also click and drag, and I'm just using the wheel on the mouse and holding the control key down. And now we've got that all there. So we've got that information. That's the bit that we're interested in. We can come up here to generate statistics, and we've got our statistics here. Cool. And so I can sort these by channel name or serial number, or sometimes channel to get them all together. Okay, so if we look at the minimum and maximum, one thing that I do like to add with a vacuum test is change over time, and we want it per minute. So we're looking for a leak rate per minute, and go close. And now that tells us that in this instance we've had 0.0302 bar. So that's 0.2 millibar per minute, which is a pretty good vacuum test. Cool, but and so it was just a matter of adding that. But if we come to the add, we can also take things off. So let's say we're not interested in the point count, we can remove that from the display. If we don't want the standard deviation, which probably isn't of interest to us, so we can remove that, and that just clears it up a little bit. Okay, so you can then print these off. So we just go File, Print, and Print Preview, and you've got your summary. I try and do these in landscape, because sometimes you don't get all the information on the one page. And we've got that there. So we've got the information about here, when it was last calibrated. So it's important that you're using calibrated loggers for your validation studies. Cool. And we can set that as our default and close the preview. Okay, so we've got that. We can put some time markers in. So if we go to up here, time markers, and go add. Waiting, I think it's holding. Start, and we know it's going to be 11:41 thereabouts. I can't remember, but we can move that. So 11:42, go add, and then the next one will be holding end. Oh, and close. So now, so we've got a challenge here that I'm moving the time slice, and those time markers are actually under the time slice. So if we come back up here, you'll notice because I've moved the time slice, the minimum and maximum has changed because we're up to here. So really what we're looking for. So let's just move that way, and I can click and drag that and put that there. I can bring that back there, and I can zoom in. In actual fact, I got that bang on first time. And I can hold the control key in the wheel and just zoom out like that, and zoom in on the bit that we're interested. So now I come to the select tool. I can just drag and drop that over the top. So I can either do it by the timestamp and what we've got. Okay, so back to fit to view. I do a horizontal zoom now, and we've got that. I need to set the scale, so again, good practice. 0 to 30, -1 to +1, and that gets that looking good. Okay, so from here we can go File, Print Preview, and again we can change the orientation to landscape, which is remembered, and we've got our legend over here, so that's all good. And we can print that out and include that in our validation report. Okay, the next thing to do is work on the sterilization phase, which was a helix test. So again, I'm going to come back to fit to view. I'm going to just move my time slice, and what I can do now is I want to use my box zoom, and I just want to zoom at this point here. And there's a couple of things I've noticed. So if you see here, the pressure is actually shifted off from the temperature. It's a little bug that keeps coming up, and I'll show you how to fix that in a second. So what I want to do is just come to set scale. This is how to fix it. I'm not going to change anything, and what I want you to do is look at these two readings, and the green line or the red line will move. And you saw that? Cool, so now they're lined up. I can now add another time marker, so we're going to be at about 12:30. Add, so it's going to be 12. What are we looking at? About 31, and it's going to be in the afternoon. And we've got that, so I'm going to go close. So now I can come back to the select tool. I can actually remove that and drop that there, because that is the cycle end. I need to give that a label. And then I want to add the cycle quick start, or stereo start actually. And it's going to be 3.5 minutes shy of that, so that'll be 50. I'm just going to pause the video for 2 seconds while I do my maths. And we're back. So 12:50, 6:22. Sorry, 12:26. Cool, so we'll just remove that last one, so we'll close that. Cool, so there's our points that we've got, so I can now shift this back. It's all going well. Oh, the time slice we now need to change. I'm actually going to leave that time slice bigger, because now I'm going to show you, you'll see it's now updated. You'll see the average temperature is 126. I'm going to put the reading count back on for a second. Point count. So we've got 601. Okay, so what I want to also do, and I'm going to go, and here's a really useful thing, is time above threshold. Okay, and so the threshold I'm going to set to is 134. And we go add. Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay. And you'll see here, this gives us that the time above the threshold was for 3 minutes 54 seconds. So that's pretty good for a helix test. So let's now change the time slice. So I'm just going to zoom out. And then I'm just going to drag that across, click and drag. And then I can drop that over the top there. And now when we come back to our statistics, you should see we're 134 and 135 a minimum, 134 and our maximums 135. Cool. Sometimes people want to know what the difference between that is, so we can add that on here. Delta min max, and we can see the variation in the actual cycle. So that's a useful statistic to have on there. The next thing that I want to do is add a line to show us where 134 is. So if we come up to value lines, add fixed value, minimum sterilisation, and we're going to have 134. Cool. Close. And you'll see it's now got that line in. Now that we've got it, again, we've got this problem where the temperature and pressure are overhanging each other. So what we're going to do is set that with the scale. So we come up to set scale. So the temperature we wanted 0, maximum 140. Pressure, we're going to go -1 to +3. And now that's done that. I'm now going to lock the vertical scale, and I'm just going to zoom out so that I actually get the whole graph in here. And there's the cycle there. Cool. And that's got all I need to do for this. So if we wanted to, we could label these points, but this is the bit that we're interested in. And so if we come back to our statistics, we've got the point count, which is 3 minutes 30, which is perfect. We haven't dipped below 134, which is perfect. So we can print this out and give that to our client and give them the statistics. So again, pretty simple. I've covered quite a lot in this video, so you may need to just go back and check over a few things, but I think I've covered off everything that I wanted to achieve. We've covered setting the scale, naming conventions, printing the graphs, zooming in and out, and creating the report. So I think that's a wrap. Thank you for your time.